With the horrors and trials of the Second World War now over, a new threat arose in the late 1940s, the increasingly belligerent power of the Soviet Union with its new generation of bombers bringing their frightening potential for a nuclear attack. The explosion of the first Russian atomic bomb in 1949 concentrated the military minds. The British government, therefore, embarked on an intensive program of radar development to defend the nation. This culminated in a network of 54 so-called ROTOR stations at locations best able to detect attacks from the east. In 1950, Headquarters Fighter Command confirmed that a new site was required for development as a centrimetric early warning radar station, or CEW, one of 8 such types around the country. Portland was established in the World War II radar network, and its prominent geographical position was considered ideal for one of the new ROTOR stations. The standard construction elsewhere was simply a sloping tunnel leading to underground bunker rooms. Portland's was unique in being the country's deepest and accessed by a lift shaft. A meeting was held in October 1950 between Air Ministry officials and engineers Mott, Hay and Anderson to agree the site layout and overall design. The operations bunker was to be underground within the deep Verne ditch, which required the agreement of the prison authority, who now owned the adjacent former military Verne Citadel. The entrance was to be tunnelled into the solid rock wall of the moat. That meeting decided that this station was to be named Royal Air Force Portland, but for security reasons, the consulting engineers gave Portland the code name NIB. Sir Robert McAlpine was appointed the contractor, and the site was a hive of activity as work progressed through 1950 to 1952. It was a huge and expensive project, more complex than the other sites, and it became operational in 1953. Portland was one of 8 R1 types and one of the centrimetric early warning facilities, CEW, intended to be the first contact points with the enemy. Local builder Jack Long built this Portland stone picket post building at the entrance to the 12-acre site and the guard room building, which was the entrance to the underground station. The radar antennae were spread around the site and comprised 2 Type 14 plan positioning radars, 2 Type 13 Mark 6 radars, 1 Type 13 Mark 7 height finding radar, and 1 Type 54 Mark 3 low level radar, and 1 AN/FPS3 array for long range radar. The radar heads were all mounted on concrete plinths or on 25-foot high steel gantries, apart from the Type 54 radar, which was on top of a 200-foot tower. Electrical and signal cables from these radars ran down to the operational rooms deep underground, which were accessed by a 70-foot deep vertical shaft. The entrance to that was in this stone guard room, cleverly designed to look like a summer house or pavilion to deceive prying eyes in the sky. Access through heavy steel glass doors, a flight of metal stairs spiraled down the shaft, but uniquely there was also a lift. At the bottom was a long tunnel, dug through solid rock and lined with concrete and steel segments. At the far end of the tunnel, corridors led to the various operation rooms. In January 2000, I was invited to join the MOD's Confined Spaces Officer, Ivan Moose Maley, to explore the underground installations.
Put your names on there. There is a confined space permit open. I've just got to put the names on the sheet to run on, mate.
Ivan was responsible for making the site safe and secure for anyone venturing into it. Some safety work had previously been carried out, including the removal of the stairs down the shaft. This meant that we had to climb down a very long, precarious, temporary ladder to the bottom, some 70 feet below. That really was a hairy experience.
Yeah, that was a staircase going round the lift there. Yeah.
This here was the actual. This is where you walked into the lift.
Yes.
Here was the lift, which
yes.
The boys there were taking down. There was the lift winding here, and that there is the motors in the.
Yeah. Right.
So what we're going to do now is clear all this through, because obviously the safety factor of all this metal, that's what they're mainly concerned with. So the easiest thing to do, they want to inspect it on a 2-yearly basis.
Yes.
So what we're doing is clearing all this out, and then putting a cat ladder where Jason is down there.
Right.
So that you or anybody else will block this off. So you go down a cat ladder and then sort it from there.
Yes.
Step back and watch this pole by your left foot.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. All this here. That's why I have to do the scaffolding. I know it.
Yeah.
See, there's the rest of the stairs. If you imagine, that's where they went up.
Yes. Yes. I can see that.
This shaft. And what we're doing now, we've had to rig the scaffolding like this. We're just waiting to drop a level, then we can put a proper walkway once they've cleared through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holes ready to punch through, and there's the rest of the
shaft, the shaft
supporting.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. Yeah. It's been cut off. Yeah. What happened to the lift itself? Is that already gone?
No, that's right down the bottom.
Oh, it's still there, is it?
It was a case of put your fingers in your ears, and I'm sat in the office.
All right.
You just got to chain off behind it.
Yeah.
Oh, cheers, Steve. I didn't see you sat still there. Have you been there overnight?
Give us a shake when you're clear of the bottom.
Okay, we'll do.
There's all this, you're only going to move here and everything falls, all this shit falls down.
Okay then. Okay, there,
Yes, roll.
you watch your feet now, because
Yes.
you're going to be treading.
Right. Obstacle course.
Yes. Right, head here.
Yeah.
You're okay.
That's great.
Okay.
Yeah, fine.
Right, what you're going to do now is swing back on yourself, and you like me on the Portland side and get down to there. That's the tunnel itself now, which I showed on the photograph.
Yes. Right. Okay.
Which will take you through
Yeah.
to the tunnel. So if you look up behind you, there's the stairs above your head, look, going round.
Yes.
That's the old
Yeah.
the configuration of it all.
Yeah. Great.
Later that year, in 2000, that ladder was replaced by a much safer vertical cat ladder.
Okay. Lovely.
There is some emergency lighting reach up.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, and that is the lift cage itself there.
Right.
Obviously, so that's what you had at the top where we walk round onto the
Yeah,
surface.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Stevie, we're clear. Thank you.
Lorries coming across new ground
Yeah.
and disappearing down into the ground. So obviously, it
See,
was.
what
for
we
the-
were thinking, it's hard to tie up to the moat area. Is it called the moat?
Yes,
Yeah, the moat area.
The Verne ditch.
Yeah. Then they would build in there the complex that we're going into. This is going to be over to you, Mr. Starcraft. Be interested to find out what you think.
Yes.
Anyway, that's the tunnel.
There
You're
must be
okay
some
there?
contract information.
Yeah. They called me back because I'm the confined space guy. If you like,
Right. Yes.
Just to close this. So
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
thank you for the money.
After walking along the long sloping tunnel, we are now under the Great Verne Ditch. The operational bunker complex was surrounded on all sides and above and below by solid reinforced concrete 3 meters thick. The entire bunker was overlaid with a very thick covering of earth, making the whole structure inconspicuous and as bomb-proof as it could possibly be. The ROTOR staff and officers were quartered at an RAF domestic site on the west side of Portland at Cortland's West Cliff, which included a sports field, a mess, billets and a NAFI building. Inexplicably, the actual ROTOR site by the East Cliff was also named West Cliff. The complex is best described by one of the RAF radar operators, who was based there while doing his national service from 1953 to 1955. The operator recalled this. The officers at the camp seemed a reasonable lot. There was never much trouble. You just got on with your national service life as distinct from being in the RAF as a career. You barely had kit inspections, and a parade would be about once a week. I thoroughly enjoyed my 14 months at the camp. I used to send my parcel of washing home to be done. This would be at the post office in Weston, just down the road from the camp. There were 2 shifts a day, 8:30 to 12:30 and 12:30 to 1700. The truck would take us up to the site, and there would be a race to go down in the lift or run down the stairs. It was usually quicker not to use the lift. The long tunnel was easy to run down, and we would then make for the restroom to get the best seats. We would be allocated our times for the shifts. It was a 1 hour on and 1 hour off pattern. This was because the on hour would be spent with your eyes glued to the radar screen only 18 inches away. I vaguely remember that as you went into the ops room, there were about 4 positions on the left where you had to record all the talk from the ops table. You had a set of headphones and recorded all the grid positions. Sometimes, weekly, we had what we called night binds. These would go on for about 6 hours or more, when aircraft would be playing stalking games. One would be the enemy attacker and one the defender. The attacker would usually fly in a direct line, and the controller would position the defender to line up behind the attacker. The controller would always be an officer, either a pilot officer or a flying officer. As an operator, I would sit next to the controller and quietly read out the grid positions to another operator in the room, who would plot them on a map. When the operation was completed, i.e. the defender could actually see the attacker, it was the job of a map operator to tell me the bearing for the defender to return to his base. Then tell this to the flight controller. Sometimes the flight controller could get a bit panicky, but then he was dealing with real aircraft. If he made a mess of it, there would be a discreet silence in the cabin. One officer was notorious at not being very good with his port and starboard directions for aircraft plots moving down the screen. These night binds were a lot more interesting than the daytime activities, as you felt more of a team. These night binds were in rooms 3 and 4 on the underground map. The mechanics were based in room 1 and the operational table in room 2. The operator referred to the main radar aerials above ground. He said the technical names were types 13, T14 and FBS, and the head of the Type 54 was on the very tall 200-foot tower, which had a small lift in it which took about 2 people. And he said, to see a mechanic going up on a windy day looked quite frightening. The Type 54 head went round and round. The Type 13 head would nod up and down to track the height of an aircraft. The others went round and round to track the distance and bearing. He continued, at the end of the normal shift, one would run up the long tunnel and usually run up the stairs. We waited outside the site entrance for the truck to take us back to the admin site. He continued, I only once went along the passageway to see the emergency exit at the site. The sound of the cooler and filtration plant was a bit frightening. We were not supposed to go along there. I went up the stairs and looked out of the emergency exit, but had to be careful not to be seen from the guardhouse. Now resuming my description. The plotting room was generally dark, with the only illumination coming from the amber or green CRT displays. The only voices were the operators, quietly relaying information via telephone headsets by VHS radio to a distant central control establishment via relay stations on Ridgeway Hills near Weymouth, or directly to an aircraft. One remarkable item that was still there in 2000 was this fighter information blackboard. The abbreviations, confirmed by the RAF Museum, were to record the atmospheric conditions. That is, altimeter settings, freezing levels, that's altitudes at which icing may be expected, the height of the tropopause, contrail, that's the height at which the condensation trails will form, wind direction, speed and temperature at various heights, and mission call signs. In the centre are listed the linked RAF airfields, historic names, most of which are now closed: Tangmere, Oddiham, Filton, Llandow, Chivener, Westmolling, Manston and Biggin Hill. The underground rooms were so tightly sealed that the air conditioning plant was vital. The machinery was designed to circulate the air and to remove the heat generated by the electronic valves and displays used in the control consoles. The air was ducted to ventilation shafts to the surface in the ditch. The cables were run underneath suspended floors. From the tunnel end, on the left, were a transformer, a workshop, the radar office, that's room 1, the intercept recorder and tracking room, that's operation room 2, areas for general post office GPO apparatus, and then the air conditioning plant. The GPO was the body providing microwave and radar communications, and in conjunction with Marconi systems, they installed the telephony, electronics and displays in all the ROTOR stations. On the right of the corridor were rooms 3 and 4, a store, and separate male and female lavatories and restrooms. It's unclear whether WRAF women, RAF women, actually served there. Other rooms were for switchgear, coolers and gas filtration plant, which were essential to keep the air fresh and breathable. At the far end of the corridor were the stairs leading to the emergency exit. The 2 flights linked by a corridor tunnel emerging in a concrete building near the cliff.
Well, this is what we say. This
looks
is used during
water.
This-
Right, I can
if
see, yeah.
If you're here now,
Yeah.
you're onto concrete.
Yes.
And I think what they've done is, where you change direction,
Yes.
they've done it like a sewerage system or a set of manholes.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
And
Well,
obviously, and obviously it's like building the old wartime Nissan huts where they send all the pipe work above ground in there, Glacis, rather than...
I see.
So what we're going to do is...
We're going to fill all this.
Take all this out, all the rubbish, only the gas rubbish. And
Yes.
right, say if that was the only hole here, we'd fill that with crush and run.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we can tamp that down, and then whoever comes here, clear all this other stuff out of the way, find the next hole, crush a run. And then
So, yes, you don't need to remove any of this, any of the concrete sections,
so
because
that will
reinforced.
stay as it
That's
is.
right, yes.
And obviously, if you've got, well, that's a transformer. And what we're going to do there is do this same thing, like from these levels down to each level that we create.
Yes.
Further through the complex.
Yes.
What's
But
this?
it's amazing how corroded things have got
Yes.
being underground, isn't it? You'd think,
You do, the air isn't too bad though,
No.
is it, if you think about it.
There's no actual nerves into the cliffside anywhere.
No, the only thing is there's two. I don't know whether these might work. I'll just see whether these will work. It's my box.
that's
Right, now in here, just watch your feet. Right, this is where the kids set fire to it. In the two big rooms.
Sadly, many original combustible features were destroyed in a fire caused by intruders in August 1969. The fire in the floor took 2 hours to control and caused much smoke damage. However, the remaining structure is a unique survival of the Cold War era, valued as a nationally important historic monument.
There you see the steps going up to like a plotting room.
Oh, yes.
That's what I imagine this to be.
Yeah.
Now, this is a wooden floor.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And if you just bear with me a second. Underneath here, there's a massive sump plug.
Oh, yes. So, what was in there?
Well, what we're going to do is pump that out.
It's water, is it?
Yes, it's water in it. There's a massive sump. And
A deep pit in the floor was created for an ingenious but overcomplicated Kelvin Hughes photographic projector system, but this was never installed at Portland. The equipment would have filmed the small CRT screens, then develop and project moving images onto the underside of a glass table, which could be observed and monitored from a balcony.
so what we're going to do here is take all this flooring out.
Yes.
And so there, you would add a set of galvanised steps down into the, like you had in the transformer room.
Yeah, yeah, right, I see.
Take all this down before it falls down, clear it out and remove it off-site.
What were the panels on the ceiling? Are they plaster or are they...
They're some type of plasterboard or something like that.
Yeah.
The guys from EnviroChem who came down said there's no way that you get any type of asbestos bell like that. No matter what type of room that the kids set fire to. I should have put those on the lights.
God.
See?
Yeah, this is probably where the interesting stuff was, you know,
Yeah.
because
I mean, this
it was a
to-
plotting room.
This to me was the two most.
Yeah.
See, there's some here.
It's not the sort of place you could feel your way around without a light, is it? You can end up down the hole there.
Watch your feet. Tom.
Yeah, is that a...
No,
That's not as deep, is it?
No.
Right.
So this is just a safety thing that it'll all be broken up,
Yeah.
taken out.
Is there any
This is
remains of anything that was on the walls or anything like that to give a hint of...
No, not
No, it's all got burnt, didn't it?
all these rooms. If you look on the plan, they're obviously ladies WC. And, but really, I didn't twig on that it was the smoke that caused all this damage.
Yes, yeah.
If you'd, or they'd have left it as it was, all the kids.
That's
I mean,
right, it would have been well, in pretty good condition. Yeah,
It would if you
if there's
think
only
about
smoke damage, isn't it?
I mean,
They were lucky to have got out.
I understand. But if you have a look down, which we believe are for obviously the chilling plant, tied up to the ventilation air conditioning.
Yeah, yeah.
If you look at it all. Now this room doesn't seem so bad. All the vents and all the metalwork seems slightly better.
Yes.
It's not corroded
Yes.
like that in the passageways would be.
Yeah, that's right.
And really we haven't got to do anything in here
No.
except get the firm in to seal all this asbestos on the pipes there. That's asbestos. And you can see where they've picked the end off there to quantify that.
Yeah, yeah.
And also the lagging on there, on those
That's on the
tanks, has got to
yeah.
be sealed, yes.
Yes, right.
But what you might try up to your... You see,
British Thermostat Company Limited. Well, serial number.
I mean really, then,
Rating.
if they were still in existence, they'd take your arm off.
Dates it, isn't it?
And also I think one or two people were saying the voltage that we use, but I'm, you know,
Yeah.
I'm not...
No. Right.
Okay, what's your
Yeah.
eyes on that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That looks rather ancient to me, doesn't it?
Yes, there's a winding coils there.
Yeah.
3. Danger. Light terminals enclosed. Yeah, relays.
Royal Air Force.
Well, therefore stores. Shut.
Yeah,
Yes.
you'd probably be about right.
Yeah, yeah.
They've done the reports and that's... It seems odd as well, that see all this mounting here, we won't touch that, but it is fairly secure.
Yes, yeah.
But the other looks a bit...
This is not badly damaged compared with the rest of it, is it? Not smoke damage anyway.
Well, that's some motor, that's got the air conditioning.
Yes, with the size of the fan on it.
Sort of fans on.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you're right now up the far end where I said the...
Right.
the ladders.
And we're heading towards the cliff here, are we? This is we're
Yes,
going. That's right.
I'll take you up the other end. once
Oh
we
yeah.
get up top.
Right.
This I know will be turned off because we haven't. What we've done, we've split the power to come from this end
Yes.
and from the other end.
Right.
So what we've done now is that going from there up to there, you've got a passageway of about another 6 or 7 metres.
Right.
And then you've got another climb of 10 metres, then another passageway, and then another climb. So you've got this at both ends.
So what would that other passageway be for? What did that lead to?
Well, that leads up onto the top field.
Oh, I see what you mean. Right.
I'll show you the
Yeah.
other end of this, but
Yeah.
you know, but it all, I mean, it's not worth going up there. All you
No.
see is another passageway going
Yeah.
down that way.
Yeah, right.
And then you've got another set of ladders, and then
Yes.
another passageway.
Right.
and
It's
then-
like a landing then.
Yes.
It's just to
Yes.
break the vertical
Yeah.
climb
So
there.
you've got basically this.
Yeah.
Now what they've done, that staging there is level with the landing. It's level with the first passageway. Look, there it is there, that
Yeah.
lip there.
Oh yeah.
Right, because you can see where we've taken all the staircases down
Yes.
off the wall there.
Right.
Right, so you've then got a passageway, then you've got a 10 metre climb
Yes.
of more ladders and stagings.
Right.
And then you've got this again off the end of the passageway. So you've got 2 big passageways.
So what was originally there was? Oh, I see. I can see the
Yes.
original
What
staircase.
you have
Yes.
here
Yeah.
is that.
You've removed these, have you, or did they?
Yes, we've taken it out. So what
Yeah.
they want to do is get rid of all the hazards.
Yes.
So what we're going to do in the end, all this lot will come out,
Yes.
right? Because at the moment this is our fire escape, if you like.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Like when they're working down here, clearing all this rubbish
Yeah,
out,
yeah.
they'll have 2 open ends,
Yes.
and this will all be removed, and then we've got a cap up this end.
Right.
So what will happen? This will be a safe end, and your means of entry will
Yes.
be the way me and you have just come in.
Right.
down a cafe.
Right.
Now the kids, I reckon, coming through there.
Cool.
Because the size of that,
Yeah.
and we know they came in through a ventilation shaft, so I reckon they're coming through there, down into there.
How did they get down though? Is there a ladder in there?
I don't know. And the kids must have done something, because I'll show you where they got in.
Cool. Yeah.
Which is down there.
Right.
And I reckon the whole lot of it was pumped out before, you know, when it was shut up.
Yes.
Because we've had all the tests done and everything like that, and there's no guano
No.
in anything
Right.
at
Yeah.
all. All the fluids
Yeah.
are okay, for want of better terms.
Yeah.
And we're taking all the oils and that, making sure these are not pressurised.
Yeah.
We're taking all the oils out of the compressors and everything like that. But the test fees in the oils, so we can just get rid of those through normal means.
Yeah. Yeah. From inside those. Yes.
We seem to think it was
story.
like a rest area for beds and things like that.
Oh yeah.
I've got a feeling that's what it does say on one of the drawings that we found.
Does it? Yeah.
Like, if you think about it, you don't need massive height or anything.
No,
You can go up there,
no, that's right.
have a snooze or.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That's,
Whereas if you look at this trunk this trunk is a bit iffy. Some of these are corroded, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think we're going to have to drop this lot down.
It's amazing. I mean, the air must have been so damp here, but to have corroded like this. Mind you, the heat.
Mind you, that doesn't look so bad. Some of these are.
Yeah. Well,
But really, you don't know whether a lot of it is dissimilar metal. But you got that's
yes.
aluminium,
That,
isn't it?
yes, that could be it. And
Which isn't going to help, is it?
no, if it got very hot in here as well,
That's right.
that could destroy any coating or protection, couldn't it?
Because we're out.
I wonder why they didn't continue the concrete decking around.
Yeah, I would have. You would have thought they'd have had like a vice and beam type of thing, wouldn't they?
Yes, yes.
Unless it was the pure fact they couldn't get things down here to lift them in case there was a problem. But there again, you still got, unless the concrete was tied into some means of support as well.
Yes, unless they, yes, might have been some structural reason.
Yeah, structural reason, sort of outside or
Yeah.
supporting something else that we can't see.
Yes, a change of. I mean, that's all reinforced concrete walls. Here we've got the prefabricated tunnel linings.
Would they be able to send a machine down here to do that in those days? Or would they dig it
I
out roughly?
I expect this was done by hand. Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't have thought they'd have had a tunnelling machine. Not for a job of this scale. Not for a job of this scale. Of course, there are other tunnels down from the in the base itself, aren't they? Going in the hillside. Have you seen those?
Yes, I haven't seen them, but
No.
the people who worked in the dockyard have said
Yeah, that's right. They're going quite a way.
they're going quite a way. I know there used to be old beds in there. They used to use them for NBCD.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure with a bit of imagination, somebody could really make something of this. How close are we to the ditch and from the cliff edge? Do you know?
It's
difficult to say. It needs to be plotted, doesn't it?
Sideways onto it, but I'm not too
About
sure.
how many?
About 20 metres.
Yeah, right.
I'm not too sure. What the thing that's slightly niggling me is what angle we're looking at now.
Very difficult, isn't it?
From there.
Yeah.
You know what this is doing from the building.
You need to, yes. You want to get some bearings.
Yeah.
Somebody ought to survey it. The original construction plans must be available somewhere. But it amazes me how much has been lost. I mean, I've had the...
Stevie!
Rotten and burnt wooden floors had earlier been removed by the MOD, as were the emergency stairs. There was later criticism that the main stairs and floors were not unsafe and could have remained, but when the late Reg Perry photographed them in 1994, he said that even then the stairs were in a poor condition. Ivan Maley and his team knew the historical significance and were intent on leaving as much of the original as safely possible.
Well,
the best person to speak to on that is Charles Jackson.
yes, yes. Is he still around these parts?
Yes, he is, yeah.
Yes, I had a lot of dealings with him.
Oh, I love him, man. He was my boss for a few years.
Oh, was he?
One of the nicest men I've ever met.
Yes. I had a lot to do with him over the... we were negotiating with the Navy then about the flood schemes and about various development works, and he was so helpful.
He's a man and a half.
Yeah, yes.
So really what you're stood in now is like the lift shaft, as you can see.
Yes. Yeah, right, good. Well, it's given me a general flavour of it and the picture, because I didn't have a clue. I knew there was a lot underground here, but did not know the extent of it or the nature of it or anything. Yes, it's a shame about the fire, isn't it?
Other side of that green door.
Good heavens. Right.
Right?
Yeah, okay.
So that is what
Yes.
you're looking at
Yes.
from there.
So we went down. It's very close to the ditch, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Look through. So
Yes.
what we're going to do here is put a concrete cap over those bricks so nobody knocks them down, over that window.
What, the window on the end?
Yeah,
there?
so there's
Right.
metal
Yeah.
shutters on it.
Now, this is in...
If you look at that, it looks like a cricket pavilion, and that's what it was built to look like. Therefore, from the air,
Yes.
it wouldn't look it. But the
That's
thing
right,
that's
yeah.
been nigging us is the state of the brickwork.
This was linked to the Ringstead radar site, wasn't it? The early warning system at one stage with the aerials here.
What, these bigger ones?
This is obviously the base of the aerials. Yeah.
What here is the other end, theoretically, of the tunnel where me and you stood at the
That's
bottom.
right, yes.
So
So
theoretically, you had this set of ladders going down. You've got that other one at the where we were down the bottom. But here, you've got a tunnel which goes back underneath itself.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got another sort of,
It's like a landing.
another set, another long drop. That's the longest drop of the lot. That's about 10 metres.
I see,
and then another landing. So
right.
You've got three sets of ladders and
Yes.
two landings. Theoretically,
Yes.
you do all the time.
Right.
But the angle, this one basically goes back this way. It goes back onto itself.
Does it?
Well, from the cliff edge,
Yeah.
you go all the way down into there. There is like big electric cables and everything
Yes,
coming in.
out, yeah.
So
Yeah.
The Portland ROTOR facility had a relatively short life, as the development of guided weapons changed the nature of the nuclear threats. It was declared non-operational in 1956 and abandoned in 1958. The original radar antennae were all cut down in July 1960. The site was given a new lease of life in 1963 when it was occupied by the United States Air Force for a microwave relay station. The new aerials and operational control were entirely above ground and were linked to a USAF Tropscatter station near the shore at Ringstead. There, a pair of enormous parabolic reflectors acted as relay links from a centre at High Wycombe to various positions on the continent and beyond. That closed after 9 years, and the aerials were dismantled in 1975. The final chapter of the remarkable Portland ROTOR came when the MOD sold the entire site by auction in 2001. The area was later developed as the Community Fancies Farm, a popular tourist attraction. But the once top-secret underground bunker remains sealed, only occasionally opened for specialist subterranean explorers. In 2004, Historic England designated RAF Portland as a scheduled monument, as it is the only example of a ROTOR centrometric early warning CEW station to survive in a largely complete and original condition within the UK.